Hey everybody, it's Chris Bella. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. Since this episode is airing a day before the new year, I figured it would be perfect time to talk about a reminder on goals and refreshing, and I'm constantly tweaking this. So if you've listened to previous episodes on goal setting or goal planning, listen again because I'm always learning new ways of getting better, more clear, minimizing my goals. Initially, I used to have no goals. And if you listen to my story, I talk about that. I had the goals assigned to me from the corporation that I worked with, but they weren't really, it's like, save X amount of dollars. They were smart goals, like save X amount of dollars within the next 6 months and change this number to Y. That was the kind of goal that I had. It wasn't like exciting. It was kind of boring. I would work with my managers to come up with something that would help the organization that we could track or whatever. And so after that, after I quit and I had my own path that I was going down, I discovered goal setting for myself. And then in 2019, I think was my first, or there was a little stint in there where I worked with another company in real estate and stuff. But in 2019, I was like on my own for the most part in terms of getting my real estate license, going my own way. And I think in 2019, I had like 15 goals. It was overwhelming. I still track a lot of things like how many pages I read, how many workouts I have. But honestly, I had way too many goals where I didn't even track them all the right way or all the way. I kind of gave up on tracking some of them because there were just so many. And so for 2020, I got very crystal clear. I had 4 goals. I'm going to pull them up here and just read them to you. I had 4 main goals on my annual 2020 goal list. And let's see. So I wanted to earn $300,000 income through real estate and close 35 transactions. Barely got past that 6-figure mark in gross commission. So I didn't hit the 300K. I did a lot better than I did last year. And I like doubled what I did last year. And it's a good trajectory. So I'm happy. While I'm a little frustrated I didn't hit the 35 transactions, I closed it out at 16. I wanted to work out 4 times a week. I hit that goal. I wanted to release a new podcast every single week. I hit that goal and I exceeded that goal because I actually upped it to 2 episodes a week. And I also am publishing on YouTube. So that's a win. And my 4th goal was to be a guest on 50 podcasts. And this is one of those goals I didn't track so well, but it really started to pick up momentum with my personal assistant helping me book me on other shows. I had 7 or 8 interviews on other podcasts that went live over the last month or 2. And so all those conversations that I've been having over the last 3 or 4 months, they're starting to hit and be released. And those people are going to hear my message and come over and listen to my show and come into my world and my funnels. And if they want to work with me eventually, they're going to reach out. And so I'm going to do a very good job of measuring those things. And I actually have a cool dashboard I made. It's ready to go. I'm tracking everything in Excel. I love Google Sheets, but Excel is a little more powerful in terms of putting together pivot tables and summarizing data, and I can create fancy graphs. So all my graphs are ready to go. I've got trend lines to show my podcast growth. I've got charts to show my year over year transactions. How many deals did I close in 2019? How many in 2020? How much money did I make? How much money am I making by quarter? All those things, which if you're good at Excel, awesome. If you're not, you can learn a couple of tutorials on how to make a pivot table. If you make a pivot table and a graph, that data will automatically update and it's super helpful. So I recommend you figure out how to do that or use some kind of dashboard that can help you track those goals. But for 2021, you've got to be very clear. If you heard the interview with Matt Aitchison, he talks about clarity. You have to know where you want to go. You have to know what your focus is. If you don't know that, you're not going to know what to aim for. You're going to be doing a bunch of different things and you're not going to know what's working and what to measure. And so my biggest advice for 2021, of course, first get clear. What is your goal? Do you want to be a real estate expert? Do you want to get really good at a podcast or build an audience or become a public speaker? Whatever that thing is, you have to know that first. Otherwise, your goals will not necessarily align with that. So once you decide on what that thing's going to be, figure out those top 3 or 4 goals. I think for the year is probably reasonable. Those top 3 or 4 goals that will really move the needle, because oftentimes if you're focusing on 1 or 2 things that really move the needle, all those other little things that you probably want to add on your goal list will get taken care of as well. So I made that realization. I heard this quote and it rings so true. You don't have a debt problem, you have an income problem. Sure, you might spend a lot of money, but most people who are broke, they don't have a debt problem. They don't have a savings problem. They have an income problem. They're not making enough money. If you made more money, it wouldn't be such a big deal to pay for these things or have to repay for something that didn't go right and like pay again, or, worrying about little bills like $5 grocery fees if you want to get groceries delivered home. You don't have to worry about all those things if you just make more money. And so it's not a debt problem, it's an income problem. And so I knew for me, if I could raise my income to a level that's 25K a month, something like that. If I can get to that level consistently, which I had a couple of 25 plus K months this year, and I had a couple of $0 months, just being real. But the 25K months showed me that it's possible. And like, how do I do that more? And how do I make it a 50K month? And how do I scale up? Those are the questions that I'm pushing towards now. But I'm starting to hit those income points where I'm able to save money and put money in investments and spend on some fun stuff and not feel guilty. And that's kind of where I am. I'm even doing some, advertising. I put an ad in a little church bulletin at the church that the school that I went to when I grew up. So I submitted that. We're going to see how that goes. And I haven't done any paid ads other than a couple of Facebook ads. So that's going to be the first one. It shows on there, hey, I went to this Catholic school. I graduated from there. I went to this Jesuit school that a lot of kids go to from that school. And then I went to Texas A&M. So I'm kind of highlighting that I'm an alum of those schools in case it touches any of those heartstrings from people who are like, oh, I like this kid. He went to these schools that I went to. He's local. I'm going to work with him. I'm going to give him a call, instead of another agent who just has the typical, same pitch, sell your, finding your dream home in 2 weeks or whatever the heck they say. I'm not really about that. I'm more like, hey, we all know a million realtors. What makes me different? I have a top business podcast. I am authentic. I don't just talk about real estate all the time. I talk about a lot of things. I interact with people. I'm genuine. That's what makes me stand out. And I happen to know about real estate and the market and negotiating and all of that, contracts and stuff like that. So for your goals, once you're clear, get 3 or 4 that you can really target in on and hone in on, and then chip away. Make sure you're measuring those things. You can't manage what you can't measure. I think you can't manage what you're not measuring. Peter Drucker said something like that. You have to measure it. And when you measure it, you can manage it and you can improve it. If you have no idea, again, you're not going to know what to do, what levers to pull, what's working, what's not working. I'm getting so granular as to even track how many podcasts I am being interviewed on, as well as my downloads. So I'm going to try to triangulate and see, okay, I went on 5 podcasts this month. The next month, my podcast grew by 10,000 downloads a month. It was probably related to the combination of efforts on going on these other shows. Because right now I had no data to really track that. I was kind of like sporadically going on other shows. But now, as I consistently measure how many podcasts am I being interviewed on a monthly basis, and how are my downloads looking overall, I'll be able to track and see like, wow, okay, I've been consistently hitting 8 interviews a month that I've been on, or 5 interviews or 3 or whatever the number is. I think my goal is 50 or 60. I have a call with my virtual assistant today to iron that out. But if I can measure all that, I'll be able to track it and see it on a graph of how my downloads are going. Am I moving closer towards my goals? Am I moving closer towards getting sponsors, selling products down the road, building my audience even more, having speaking opportunities, like all these cool things can come out of it. And I'm taking it more seriously. If you saw recently, I updated my podcast cover. It's getting fancier. I'm getting professional photos and videos, and I'm investing in myself and in my personal brand. And I'm starting to take everything more seriously instead of just half-assing it, because if you don't go all in and you don't own it, no one's going to believe you if you don't believe in yourself, So that's kind of my message for you, kind of some motivation to really get clear on what you want in 2021. Make sure to define some goals that are actionable, that are measurable, and then create some kind of tool, whether it's a Google Sheet or an Excel file, to measure consistently how are you doing. And I really do recommend, if you're not good at Excel, a couple of formulas can go a long way. Just watch a couple of YouTube videos and a pivot table, PIVOT. I know it sounds fancy. A lot of people don't know what that is. It's super easy to set up. And once you do, you can create really cool stuff like graphs and charts and things like that, where you don't have to think about measuring or managing. You just input the data every day, every week, every month, input the data, update the numbers, and then click, refresh all, and the charts will update automatically to show your progress and your trend lines and all of that stuff. So with that being said, make it a great new year. Happy 2021. I know you guys will all kill it. And if you have any questions, reach out to me, Instagram DM. I'm always happy to reply back to listeners, see how I can help. If there's any content you think that I should make that would help with 2021, with your goals, with your goal setting, with networking, any of those topics at all, just let me know and I'll be happy to create some content around that. With that being said, happy 2021. Catch you on the next episode. Get clear on your goals and make sure to track and measure them. See ya.